Hey, how's it going, YouTube? How y'all doing today? Got some rain on this field again this morning, or excuse me, it was last night. Got a bit of a wind coming through. I don't know if the camera's gonna pick it up or what's gonna happen. But yesterday, the weather forecast was saying that we had a potential of getting something like, the forecast was saying 1 to 2 inches of rain yesterday, potentially up to 3 inches of rain. And the storm, yeah, the wind's blowing real bad. But the storm hit DFW real hard, and then it just kind of parted itself as it approached the eastern portion, east central Texas. And so we only ended up getting about a 1/4 inch of rain here, which is good. Yesterday, I was actually thinking in my head, man, if I get another inch or 2 or even 3 inches of rain on that field up front, my sorghum Sudan grass will actually start drowning. Because the ground is so saturated with water right now, if it gets more water on it, it's just gonna sit on the top of it. And so that field, if it got a few more inches of rain, that water would start pooling everywhere, and the seeds that have germinated and that are growing in, they would actually drown. And so I was like, in my head, I was like, man, I may actually have seeds start drowning here. But the storm parted itself as it was blowing over to the east, and so we got about a 1/4 inch of rain. But Dallas, they were saying that I think the Weather Channel was saying that Dallas Fort Worth got a lot of rain yesterday, a lot of rain. And so yep, these animals are starting to plump up pretty good. I'm starting to notice it on them. I'm gonna need I got about 2 more months with these, about 2.5 more months with these animals before they go to market. And I'm gonna need all 2.5 months to get these animals looking real good for that market time. And yesterday, I took time to really just contemplate, what am I doing in terms of looking for real estate? What am I doing in terms of looking for real estate, as well as what kind of deals would I like to make? And my first deal that I'd like to make is I'd like to go to the feed store, and I'm gonna call around to these different feed stores and see who will give me the best quality feed for $3,700, the most quantity for the best quality. I'm gonna make it kind of like I'm gonna look for quantity, I'm gonna also look for quality, and I'm gonna look for to invest $3,700. If I put $3,700 into feed and I can get 10 to 20% more feed, I will take that deal. So that's deal number 1 that I'm looking to make. I'm looking to make a deal for feed. My budget right now is $3,700 because I've already brought in 4 barrels, and 4 barrels cost me exactly $300 because it's $75 a barrel, and I don't pay any taxes on it because it's animal feed. And I thought about this as well, but if my animals are gaining this well, if I'm doing this well, like I am doing substantially better than I thought I would have been, then I ain't gonna say that I thought I would have been. I thought I was gonna do well. I tell myself that there is zero reason to go into something and think that I'm just gonna suck. You know, I don't think like that. You know, why would I go into something and be like, oh my God, this is gonna be horrible, this is gonna be a whatever. Why think so negatively? When I started this, I thought positively about it. I told myself, hey man, you know, even if things go kind of poorly or whatever, I'll learn a lot, and I can always if I know something, I can make money on it, right? And so if I learn a lot, that's an opportunity for me to make money too. And so I'm doing very well. That's the thing. I'm doing extremely well, but also a portion of me doing extremely well is because my grass is growing in so good right now. The weather, it's just been unusually cool. It's been very cold. This April, we've been getting like mid-40s for like right now it's probably like the upper 40s. And so the weather's been very, very cool, and we got a lot of rain. And I put fertilizer on the field too. I put fertilizer on it twice before it started pouring rain because well, yep, I actually anticipated that I wouldn't be able to get on the field this week to put fertilizer on it because of the rain situation, and that plan actually went very well too, because I put enough fertilizer on this field for half a month instead of 1 week. Just because so the original anticipation, the original plan, like I know I said this in a different video, but the idea was, if there was going to be a lot of water moisture in the soil and the weather was going to be cool, the fertilizer concentrations would drop and the grass would grow very well, so I could put more fertilizer on it without risking the animals getting some sort of the animals bloating too bad. And so the plan for the grass worked very well. And so I got a lot of grass right now, a lot of grass for these animals. I'm actually starting to realize that these animals are laying down to eat cud or to chew cud twice a day. They'll actually give up eating food to lay down to chew their cud about twice a day. And if these animals were hungry, they'd be grazing all day. And so these animals are at their absolute limit in terms of how much food they will eat. Yesterday, like when the weather's getting real bad, I'll give them that 8 buckets of grain instead of 7, because I ran a little trial a couple days ago just to see how much grain these animals would eat if I gave them just if I just gave them as much grain as that they wanted, how much would they eat? And I gave them 8 buckets, and so that's the number right now. In about 2 weeks, that number may change, but right now, if I give these animals 8 buckets of grain, they will actually stop eating because they're so full. And so when the weather gets bad, I give them 8 buckets of grain, and when the weather gets bad, I feed the cattle more. I give the cattle more food, and the reason I give the cattle more food when the weather gets bad is because when the cattle get real full, when the cattle just completely up to their limit in terms of how much food they'll eat, they'll lay down and they'll start chewing cud. And they'll just like sit there, like they'll just lay there chewing cud. And when they're chewing cud, they're very comfortable. And so the big idea is, when the weather is real bad, I just like these animals to just kind of hunker down in the barn and just lay there and chew cud for a few hours until the rain passes over. And the extra vitamins and stuff from the food will boost their immune system. Because I found, well, the reason I do that is because when I first brought these calves in, when I first started raising the little 2.5 weight Pee-wee calves, I found that when the weather gets real bad, I'll have like 4 or 5 animals get pneumonia. And then I'll have to pull them from the herd, and I'll have to give them an injection of antibiotics. And so treating animals like that, it costs like $10 an animal. It costs like $50. And so if I had 5 animals get sick, I'd have to spend about $50 to treat them. And so what I found was that if I just give them some extra food, if I give it like $50 is practically an entire a barrel of grain used to cost $70. It costs $50 or $75 now, but a barrel of grain is $75. And so if I give them like 2/3 of a barrel of grain, that's how much $50 is. And the animals, they're not going to eat 2/3 of a barrel of grain. Okay, the 2/3 of a barrel of grain is a lot of feed. But I found that if I gave them the extra food, that they would lay down early and they would start chewing cud instead of wandering around the field while it's raining and stuff like that. And they'll lay down early. And I found that the animals don't get sick. Well, if they're properly vaccinated and they got a lot of food in them, the chances of them getting sick are very, very low. And so that's why I started doing that, and so far so good. I haven't had to give an animal an antibiotic in like 3 or 4 months. And so and these are all sale barn cattle, and so that's very, very, very good. But yep, I have started to realize that these animals are laying down to chew cud twice a day when I give them 7 buckets of grain, which is not exactly ideal. If they're chewing that much cud, if they're that full, I would rather reduce their grain and have them eat more grass. And so I'm kind of thinking about that right now. I'm making a plan for that in my head right now. Should I reduce their grain to 6 barrels or to 6 buckets a day is what I'm thinking about. Or should I just keep them on 7 for the whole month? I'm thinking about different things that I should do. Because if they're, well, I don't want them chewing cud half the day. If they're that full, I would rather just not have them, I would rather just save money on the grain and have them eat more grass. But right now, the gains on these animals I'm doing extremely well in terms of these animals having gains. And so the money that I'm investing into their feed, these animals I'm actually making a net profit. So every time I feed them food, I'm actually making money. Well, the making money thing, that depends on whether I would just anticipate. Okay, so my whole thing about this whole $1 a pound thing is that if I don't make $1 a pound, that would be very well, I don't know. The chances of me not making $1 a pound are very slim. I would just there ain't really any reason for me to be worried about not making $1 a pound on these animals. If I make $1 a pound at a 70 cents per pound of gain cost, or 60 to 70 cents per pound of gain cost, I'm making a few $100s every month on these 27 animals, on these 25 animals. And so, every time I give them food, I'm actually making a net profit. And also, I was thinking about these yesterday while I was penciling out my business plan. And if I feed them $4,000 worth of grain, and I get a 25% tax deduction for that grain, because it's stuff that's going into my business, it's a business expense, I'm actually spending $3,000. Because at the end of the month, at the end of this year, I'm gonna have a lot of taxes due. And so unless I find a way to deduct those taxes, I'm gonna owe them. And so it ain't a matter of am I going to get a business expense deduction or not. It is going to be a business expense deduction at this point. There is 100% chance that it's a business expense deduction. And so I'm actually paying about $3,000. I'm not paying $4,000. I'm actually getting about a 25% reduction in the cost of the grain, just because it is a business expense. And so I'm making a substantial net profit every time I feed these animals. And so I'm going to keep feeding them. But right now I am realizing that they're chewing a lot of cud. They are laying down to chew cud very, very frequently. And so, but they're starting to thicken up. But I'm gonna need 2 more months to get these animals ready for market. If I want them looking real kind of smooth, and I want them looking plump, I'm gonna need at least 2 more months with these animals. Like this guy right here, he's starting to smooth out a little bit. He's starting to look plump, and so they're on their way to being market ready. I just need a couple more months with them. And yesterday, the one thing that I was really taking a look at real estate properties yesterday as well, and kind of coming up with a real estate strategy in terms of what I do in terms of investing in real estate. And so when I looked through the market, I categorized properties into 3 major properties. Number 1 is residential. There is residential real estate. There's real estate that people live on. Then there's number 2. There are commercial properties. There are properties that people do business on, like big business. Number 3, there's farmland. And there are a few other properties that I saw, like timberland, like land with wood on it, and then there's flex properties. So flex properties would be something like this, where I can live on it as well as produce an income on it, and which I think is the best type of a property, because if I can live on a property that I owe $1,200 a month for, and then I run a business on it that makes $1,200 a month, the property pays for itself. And so I'm essentially living here at the expense of me having to run, or at the expense of me running this business. So me running this business is giving me this property. So I ain't having to really pay for the property. The business is paying for the property. And so a lot of land around Dallas is priced at that residential or commercial property price. And so if I'm looking for farmland, what I'm looking for, so residential and residential properties, commercial properties, and flex properties are extremely expensive in terms of price per acre. They can go anywhere from about $10,000 an acre to about $45,000 an acre. And so if I'm looking for what I'm looking for in terms of real estate is farmland. I'm looking for cropland. And if I'm looking for cropland, I may, and I'm not only that, but I'm actually looking for cropland east of here. Because if I go east 2 hours of here, I can go to Louisiana or I can go to Arkansas. If I take a 2-hour drive. And so what I'm looking to do is go about half that distance. I'm looking to go about an hour east from here to buy farmland. And the reason I'm looking to go an hour east from here is because the closer I get to Louisiana, the more rain I'll see. And so if I go an hour, if Louisiana's 2 hours from here and I go 1 hour, I'm gonna be halfway to Louisiana. And the closer that I get to Louisiana, the more rain that there will just naturally be in terms of climate. And so I'm looking to go about an hour east of here, and I'm looking to buy land out there. And if I go an hour east of here, the closer I get to the Louisiana border or the closer that I get to the Arkansas border, the cheaper the land gets. But I'm also going to have to be driving like an hour or two away to get to that property. And so, and when I mean cheaper, I mean substantially cheaper. The price of land drops to like $4,500 an acre. And I penciled the numbers out and I said, okay, if I bought a 50-acre field for $250,000, that would mean I owe about $1,200 a month on it. If I owe $1,200 a month on it and I have 50 acres and the land is cleared, it's cropland. So they've cleared it already, they've plowed it, they flattened it, everything. And so if I pay $250,000 for 50 acres, that's $1,200 a month. And on that 50 acres, I grow 450 bales of hay a year over the long term. And I get $100 per bale of hay. That's $45,000. And so if I made $45,000 on that property and I owed $14,000 on that property, and out of that $45,000, half of it was the cost of the inputs to grow the hay, I'd be making about a net profit of $10,000 a year on 50 acres. And that $10,000 a year would be cash flow. Now from that, I would also have equity retainment. I would also have tax deductions, etc., etc. So the $10,000 would be money in my pocket, but I would also have additional money coming in from the equity on the property, as well as the tax deductions that I get from operating the farm on that land, as well as the interest on the loan. And so if I needed to tap a large sum of money, I could tap into it by leveraging the equity, by collateralizing the equity. But in terms of cash flow, I would make about $10,000. And so it's a pretty good deal. It's a very good deal. But the negative part about the deal is that I'd have to drive about an hour or two away to get to that field. And so my big plan was, well, I got these shipping containers painted. And the big idea was I would take the shipping containers with me over to the new farm, and I would make a little living quarters with it, so that for me to grow hay on the field, I probably have to be there at least one day a month. It's not like cattle. Cattle, I'd have to be here every day to raise cattle properly. Just my belief in doing things. But in terms of growing hay, if I'm just there once a month, maybe twice a month, I can grow the hay. And so I can take these shipping containers with me, make a living quarters out of it, and then I can stay on the property 2 days a month to grow the hay on it. And so that was the big idea right now. As of right now, that's the big idea. And if I pay $4,500 to $5,000 an acre, I have a net cash flow opportunity of about $10,000 a year. But I also have an equity retainment. I also have tax deductions, etc., etc. So it's a good deal. It's a very good deal. But I need to go about an hour or two away from here. And so I am looking closely at the real estate market right now. I would anticipate. Well, I also got to go talk to a banker. I got to go talk to a banker about them giving me money. And so, usually The thing about a banker is that if I walk into a bank and the banker just like thinks like, oh, this person's an idiot, like they don't know what they're doing, they're not going to give you any money. They're not going to give me any money. If I sound like an idiot, if I walk into a bank and just sound like a complete moron, they're not going to give me money. But if I talk to them fluently about finances, and I talk to them about my plan, etc., those bankers, they're eager to give out money because they make money on loans. Banks aren't a business that hold on to people's money. They are a business that makes money by giving people loans. And so if I sound like I know what I'm doing and I got a good plan and my financials look okay, they'll give me money. They will. And when bankers give people money, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars. I mean, I don't know anyone else that will give me $250,000 for $1,000 a month. I just don't know who would be willing to do that other than a commercial bank. And so my plan, I believe that I have a pretty decent plan. I have a pretty a good rough idea in terms of a plan. My animals are well on track to go to market here in about 2 months. I will probably be making a pretty substantial amount of money on these animals. I also got my tax deductions, but I need to get my tax deductions squared away for next year as well. And I'm actually planning to get my loan from the USDA this year to buy the cattle, because if I get the loan from the USDA to get the cattle, if I take a loan from the USDA to get if I take a loan from the USDA to get cattle this year, and then that would be a good opportunity for me to meet the bankers there. And so and like if I take a loan for $100,000 and I pay the whatever month, the P&I payment on a USDA loan, like if I took a loan from a local bank, a local ag bank, and it was 8.24% interest at 10 years, interest only with no principal, then principal payments would begin after that 10-year mark for 20 years. For the first 10 years, I'd be paying about $600 a month for $100,000. But and about a quarter of that to a third of that would be tax deductible. So I'd be paying about $400 to $450 a month for $100,000. But if I go to the USDA and I take a loan from them, their loan terms are that they drastically drop the interest rate on the loan. They drop it to 4.75%. But they require principal payments, and they also have a 7-year loan term. And so the numbers on that turn out to be about $1,400 a month for $100,000. But out of that $1,400 a month, because I'm also paying principal, it's actually about $700 a month, because half of that payment is going into the principal of the loan. And it may be amortized. I'll have to ask them. If it's amortized, it's going to be a little bit lopsided. The principal on the loan. The principal repayment on the loan will be a bit lower for the first whatever. But I only need the loan for 6 months realistically. If I have a loan for 6 months, I can bring in a herd of cattle and then take them back to market within those 6 months. And so, I'd be paying about the gross expense would be $1,400 a month for the USDA loan. The net expense would be substantially lower depending on if the loan was amortized. And so I'm going to take the USDA loan, and my strategy for taking the USDA loan is I'm going to have $10,000 of savings in the bank. So if I do decide to tap into and they are going to require that I put up collateral for the loan as well. They told me that they can do anything for collateral. They said I can put my truck up for collateral. They said I can put my tractors up for collateral. They said I could put up anything for collateral. I'm pretty sure that's what they said. They said just list out everything that you have that has an equity on it. And so, but I will probably have to put this. I'm going to be putting this. I can almost guarantee I'll be putting up this land as collateral for the loan as well. And so. Because the land, I got equity in this property. And so, if I take a loan from them, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put $10,000 into savings that I won't touch, and then I'll tap into the credit to purchase the cattle. And if I need to, I'll also tap into the credit to purchase cattle feed if necessary. But I'm gonna hold on to the $10,000 as a if worst comes to worst, and I need the capital to pay the bank back, I will have the money put away. And so you know, it won't be that difficult for me right now to put $10,000 away, because if I liquidate these cattle, I'll probably boom $25,000 check, you know, $20,000 check, and I just got to put half of that away. And so it's not that big of a deal. And then I can use the other half to start to pay off some of my debts. I won't be able to pay off all of my debts if I put half of the money that I make away from these cattle away, but I can make payments on the debts and get rid of my highest interest rate debts that are coming up pretty soon. And yeah, but there's it ain't gonna be that big of a deal, okay? It is a big deal, but it is a huge deal. It is a tremendous deal. But I will do I have a good grasp on things, on which way things need to go as of right now. I ain't completely over my head. I've thought about things carefully, and I've made a plan, and I believe the plan makes sense. And so yep, things are going to be going okay. But I am going to be taking the USDA loan, and I am going to put some money away to cover the debt expense on that loan in case I have an emergency and I need to make payments on the loan. And yep, but once I get familiar with the well, I usually tend to get along very well with businessmen and bankers. If I talk to a businessman or if I talk to a banker, I tend to do usually, also accountants. I do very good with accountants too. They like we usually, when we start talking, it's like, okay, things are going good. The people that I don't get along with are like psychologists. I've met a couple of psychologist people in terms of that's what they do, and they tend to not like me, which is perfectly fine. I mean, if I went out of my way to please everybody, I mean, I would be a floor mat. I mean, it would be a horrible life. I ain't looking to do that at all. And so that's perfectly fine. But yep, these animals are looking good. Everything's going okay. I got a plan kind of squared away, and everything is kind of just is going in a good direction. But that's it for me today, YouTube. Y'all have a good one.